were typically wound up pretty tight. But there was more going on in my head that I hadn't yet found the words to express. After venting to him, I reached for the television that was sitting on a nearby table, ripped the plug out of the outlet, and threw the TV across the room. I stared at the massive hole in the drywall for a moment, and that's when the words came to me. When I'm the king here, and I run shit, this will never happen. There's a story told by Tiger Woods, shared during his World Golf Hall of Fame induction speech in 2022 that stands out to me. Playing at some of these golf courses, I was not allowed in the clubhouses where all the other juniors were. The color of my skin dictated that. As I got older, that drove me even more. So, as I was denied access into the clubhouses, that's fine. Put my shoes on here in the parking lot. I asked 2 questions only. That was it. Where was the first tee? And what was the course record? That, to me, is how a champion speaks. Winners either find their way or they make one. For the champion, ceilings are imaginary. People all decide whether we want to accept or ignore the limitations that ceilings are meant to impose. Champions accept no ceilings. Woods, Lewis, Ali, Jordan, and me. Back to Stuttgart. Sure, I wasn't the king of anything yet, or a champion, and I didn't run shit. I didn't even run the relay that week, but my statement was a promise to myself. I was going to find my own path and achieve such a high level of success that no coach or ruling body would tell me what I could or could not do. Nobody would tell me to know my place and leave the decisions to the officials, especially these officials, some of them the very people who had been in charge 5 years earlier when Canada's track and field team had embarrassed the sport and disgraced the country. I came into track and field from outside their little world. They were used to dealing with athletes from a different socioeconomic class. Urban kids who didn't have clear routes to prosperity. Some, the children of new Canadians who had come to the country with very little. Some of the athletes had come to Canada themselves as children, and a contract with Athletics Canada was a chance to elevate themselves and their families from difficult circumstances. That wasn't me. Yes, I'd moved to Canada as a kid, but I'd given up a job on Bay Street in my 20s to pursue my athletic career. And I could go back to Canada's financial center at a moment's notice. My dad had taught me many things, like how to make money and to be no one's fool. So unlike the athletes these coaches and administrators were used to pushing around, I knew how things worked in the real world. I knew how to build a business and manage myself as a brand. I was going to take charge of Donovan Bailey Incorporated and make myself the dominant brand in track and field, the greatest athlete my country, maybe the world, had ever seen. That's exactly what I did. I let people run with their narratives of me too, say what they want. That's the way I collect data on people I deal with and decide what I want to do. Since I was a kid, I've listened closely and asked a lot of questions. That's how I learned then. And that's how I learned things about Canada's athletic establishment that it doesn't seem to know about itself. I promised myself one day I'll take my story back, tell it in my own way. And that's exactly what I've done. Chapter 1, The Why Kid. Everyone's childhood has a moment that stands out. It could be a traumatic event or a small, joyous encounter. Either way, these moments stick out in our heads for one reason or another and inform the person that we become. One of those moments came for me when I was 12 years old. I was sitting beside my mom on a bus. When I looked out the window, I could see my birth country in its full splendor. Man, Jamaica is a beautiful place. We were driving by the coast just then, so I was entranced by the ocean waves lapping against.